Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. It's been a dramatic few days for TMC MP Mahua Moitra. Known for her fierce attacks on the Modi government and fiery speeches in and outside Parliament, the first time MP has landed in a big soup. She's been alleged to have taken personal monetary favours and gifts from a business group in exchange for asking questions targeting another business group in Parliament. The problem doesn't end there for her though. She's also accused of sharing her parliamentary login and password for her associates to put in questions directly in what is being called a breach of parliamentary privilege. The matter is now with the Lok Sabha Ethics Committee. The matter attains seriousness because it is no longer just a complaint by BJP MP Nishikant Dubey, but two main protagonists in this matter have filed statements or complaints against Mahua, accusing her of sharing her login and of graft. Jai Anant Dehadrai is a lawyer who was in a relationship with Moitra and was the first to file a complaint against her with the CBI. And Darshan Hiranandani, a businessman based in Dubai, has released a statement ratifying Jai Anant's allegations as a first-person witness. Today, Moitra's plea to restrain reporting on this matter was heard in Delhi High Court, and Jai Anant revealed that her lawyer tried to persuade him to drop the case in lieu of his dog's return, who the latter alleges has been separated wrongly from him by Mahua Moitra. Mahua's lawyer then withdrew from the case post this, and the matter has been adjourned till October 31 now. Meanwhile, ethics panel has called both Jai and Dubey for a hearing, and the matter is certainly getting extremely serious for Mahua Moitra. Will she lose her parliamentary membership for sharing her login details is the big question, and we'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. But first, let's do a deep dive as far as the charges levelled against Mahua Moitra are concerned. And these are the charges that were first made public to the Lok Sabha Speaker in a letter, in a complaint filed by BJP MP Nishikant Dubey. So this is what he says in that letter, that there is a conspiracy that has been hatched to protect interests of a certain businessman, that TMC MP Mahua Moitra took bribes from this said businessman to ask certain questions in Parliament, that 50 out of the 61 questions that have been posed by her so far were from Darshan Hiranandani or on his behalf. In return, Mahua Moitra received cash and expensive gifts from the business group. This is basically the premise of the complaint, and of course we'll get you more details of what the complainant has said to the CBI in just a bit. But I do want to focus now on what exactly Darshan Hiranandani has said, because his statement that has made its way to the media has of course made the matter extremely serious against Mahua Moitra. So he released a statement and backed all of the charges levelled by Nishikant Dubey and Jai Anant. This is what he said and the response that came in from Mahua Moitra after that. So Darshan Hiranandani has claimed that Mahua was happy with the first set of questions he gave her. In other words, he was drafting questions for her, particularly attacking the Adani group. The TMC MP has pointed out that this letter that has released to the media is not an affidavit because it is not on a letterhead and it is not notarized. Hiranandani has gone on to also say or claim that Mahua Moitra gave her login and password of the Parliament portal to him subsequently after the initial set of questions he drafted for her. Mahua Moitra says that Darshan has not been called by any agency yet, not by the CBI, not by the Ethics Committee. So exactly who is he presenting or making this statement to? Now, Darshan Hiranandani confessed that he posted questions for Mahua Moitra directly on her behalf on that parliamentary portal. The TMC MP is alleging that Darshan's letter has been drafted by the PMO or the BJP's IT cell. So she's basically saying that it's all political against her. The Dubai-based businessman also alleged that Mahua was getting help from other people too as far as this endeavour to continue to pin a certain businessman is concerned. Mahua Moitra pointed out, why would a businessman like Darshan Hiranandani be coerced by a first-time MP, which is one of the allegations in fact that Hiranandani has made, that Mahua Moitra made frequent demands of him for favours. And she's of course pointing out how is that possible that she's able to have that agency on him. And finally, Mahua Moitra has also said that Darshan Hiranandani was forced to sign this letter, which eventually made way to the public purely to save his business because the government put a gun to his head. Let's now also tell you what more complainant Jai Anant Dehadrai has said in his letter on his complaint to the CBI, And these are the very serious charges that Mahua Moitra will have to now eventually face, apart from what the Ethics Committee of the Lok Sabha will do. So in his complaint, these are the items that Jai Anant has alleged Mahua Moitra has received. She has received iPhones, latest models of the iPhones from the businessman, diamond and emerald jewelry, Hermes and Louis Vuitton scarves. She is also alleged to have received 35 pairs of Salvatore Ferragamo shoes, dozens of French and Italian wines, luxury cosmetics from Dubai, more designer items like Gucci leather bags, crocodile leather bags from Baluti, and last but not the least, she's also accused of receiving cash, and not just payments but also packets of cash from the businessmen in lieu of these questions. Now, interestingly, a similar cash for query case had occurred during UPA 1 tenure in Parliament. Let's take a look at what happened in that case, because that will give you the idea of just how serious these allegations can be against any parliamentarian. So, a sting operation was carried out by a media outlet then, and it was later aired by a news channel. This sting operation captured 11 MPs accepting cash for raising certain questions in Parliament. Out of these MPs, 6 were from the BJP, 3 from BSP and 1 each from RJD and Congress. Later, these MPs were expelled, 10 from the Lok Sabha and 1 from the Rajya Sabha. Now, these MPs had also filed a petition challenging their expulsion, but in January 2007, Apex Court upheld the decision of expelling these parliamentarians. And in the same year, Delhi High Court also directed the police to book all people involved. What did that mean? The journalists who carried out the sting operation were also named in a charge sheet filed by the Delhi police, and the journalists were named for abetting the offence under the Prevention of Corruption Act. Later, though, the case against the journalists was quashed, with the court ruling that no one could be prosecuted for carrying out sting operations. That's the seriousness of the charges and the action eventually that Mahua Moitra could face. First up, though, we look at the parliament aspect. Is Mahua Moitra liable to lose her parliament membership because of sharing her login details and more? We take that question to our guest joining us.
Jai personally said he had an objection to me appearing. I immediately withdrew and I said I don't want to do this case. It's been adjourned to another date. I'm no longer concerned with the case. I've withdrawn from it.
Completely believe that the Central Bureau of Investigation and the NIA should take up this issue and see how far this woman went on to violate our national security and breach our national security.
विपक्ष के सारे रास्ते बंद हैं, जैसे इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड है। इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड में बीजेपी को ही पैसा मिल रहा है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट के पास में सोर्स है कि इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड के थ्रू पैसा देने वाला है।
Hello, Moto.
First up, I want to go across to Baijan Panda, BJP National Vice President. He was also member of the Parliamentary Committee on Ethics in 2005 when the previous cash for query case had come to light. Mr. Panda, how serious is this charge of sharing your login and password as a parliamentarian? I believe this system only came into existence in 2019. How serious do you think this charge is?
It is, of course, very serious, and I'll come to that in a bit. You referred to the Ethics Committee, of which I was part of nearly 20 years ago.
Yes.
It had real titans from across the political spectrum. It had the late Sushma Swaraj on that committee. Dr. Karan Singh was also on that committee. And as you have mentioned, the 11 MPs that were expelled from Parliament were from across the political spectrum, from several different parties, both in government and opposition. It gave us no pleasure to see that evidence at that time. And the decision that the committee took, obviously, not only expelled those members, but it set a precedent that there can be absolutely no exoneration for taking cash or expensive gifts for posting questions in Parliament. You know, even long before the technical age, Parliament for decades and for centuries has a protocol that even your speeches you are not allowed to read from a script, because you're not supposed to be taking orders from anybody else outside. As a parliamentarian, you're supposed to be independent and ask questions that you yourself know that they're about. So giving your login to somebody else is akin to having a written statement given by somebody which you read out in Parliament, where you are a proxy for them.
Right.
So that is not permissible. It's very serious, because you can make all kinds of excuses for it, but here it seems that quite possibly the login was given to somebody who was operating from a foreign location. And that itself is a very serious breach of national security. You can't be having parliamentary questions being posted by somebody who's not a parliamentarian, who's not a member of the staff who's authorized to submit papers for the parliamentarian, who in fact is a business person with his own vested interests, and who may have been accessing the parliamentary account of a parliamentarian from outside the shores of India. That is extremely serious, because it shows that the parliamentary system has been gamed, and members of parliament who are willing to put themselves up for sale are in fact just representing themselves as the PR wing or the liaison wing of corporate houses.
One of the defense that did come to light earlier, I don't know how much that counts now that Mr. Darshan Hiranandani himself has come out and said publicly that yes, he did pose those questions on her behalf, subject to inquiry and of course a case. But there was a defense that came to light earlier that you have a large staff and part of your staff also access your login.
Not from Dubai. And there is a system where you can authorize a member of the staff to go and file. But even in the old days, whether on paper, it had to carry the signature of the MP. And even in the new system, the MP would have to receive an OTP and authorize a specific person to submit documentation on his or her behalf. And if the records show that was not happening from the MP's office, then it raises questions. And particularly if it is outside the country. Now, Parliament is not supposed to be a proxy for multinational individuals and corporate entities who directly submit questions. And you see the signed document circulated by Mr. Hiranandani, the disclosures are extremely serious.
Yes.
Because you can see that the questions are being posted directly for the benefit of one corporate entity. Now, whatever be the merits of the questions is a different issue, but you cannot be, as a parliamentarian, acting as the liaison person of one corporate entity. That is just flatly illegal.
The point I'm trying to understand is that the offense here, that somebody else was giving her questions, if that is proved, or is the larger offense that they were doing it via her login, as far as the parliamentary procedure is concerned?
I think there are a number of very serious violations. As I was just explaining, I think you cannot be giving the login to outsiders who are not connected with Parliament, not connected with being your authorized representative to submit documentation, and certainly not to somebody who's maybe a multinational corporate or individual entity. That itself is highly illegal, because that system can be gamed. There are agencies of other countries who would definitely be able to tap into such a system if it was made allowable. So that is not acceptable. It's a breach of national security. Then if you come to the question of receiving expensive gifts and cash, which has been disclosed in a written and signed statement by Mr. Hiranandani, now that is extremely serious. That is exactly the grounds on which 11 members lost their parliamentary membership, 11 MPs. And the precedent has been laid down. It's very unfortunate that we should be seeing a deja vu of that 18 years later.
No, I was going to come exactly to that. As part of the ethics panel, do you feel this panel is able to get into the proof of whether she received this money and expensive gifts also? And will that eventually become a criminal case as well, you feel?
Well, back in the earlier ethics case where I was a member of that committee along with Sushma Swaraj ji and Dr. Karan Singh and others, yes, the parliamentary committee did in fact receive all kinds of information and documents, and we came to the conclusion that there was indeed a violation of the rules. Now, remember something. Parliament is the highest lawmaking body in the nation. And the ethics committee, in a sense, represents its highest ideals because it lays down the ground rules for what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And since there is a clear precedent of 11 MPs having been removed from Parliament's membership, so the precedent is clearly there. And it seems to be a deja vu because there is a written statement, signed statement by one of the accused who has turned a prover apparently, who says that that these crimes did actually occur. And I understand that this has been received by the ethics committee, today's ethics committee.
Yes.
And I would imagine that since the precedence exists, they will go through the same procedures of examining the evidence and making a decision.
My final question to you, Baijan Pada, you're also, of course, BJP's National Vice President and a BJP parliamentarian. As a politician, what do you think is in store for Mahua Moitra, or what is the BJP's contention should happen in this case? Not just with the Ethics Committee, but also, of course, inquiries outside of Parliament as well.
Well, the allegations which are given in writing, the disclosures which are in writing are extremely serious, as I have just explained. And they, clearly this calls for disqualification, as has been, if those 11 members could lose their MPship, why should somebody be exempted because they can speak better English and are more projected by a certain section? Those poor 11 MPs followed the exact same path as the current MP Mahua Moitra in contention. So you can't have different rules for different people depending on what accents they speak in and whom they attack.
Sure.
In that case, 11 MPs from across political parties lost their membership. So it's not a question about partisanship. We took those decisions it was a difficult decision because people from various parties lost their membership. So it's not partisanship. It is about the ethics and norms and standards of Parliament. And, what has been disclosed in these signed documents is that there was a conspiracy angle to it, where clearly with the involvement of several people, a position was being taken, if 50 out of 61 questions, as is being disclosed in those statements, was done purely at the behest, not at the behest, directly by somebody else with a vested interest. That is simply not acceptable. It's illegal. And whether there will be investigations outside of Parliament or not, I don't want to comment now because I guess all the evidence has to be thoroughly analyzed. But surely the Ethics Committee can lay down the law in this regard, has done so in the past, and it should happen. The same precedents should be honored.
Can I ask you a very quick final question? What do you make of the TMC's silence in this regard? They haven't spoken a word on this yet.
I think it's very telling, isn't it? Because normally when, the MP in question has not refuted any of the allegations. Any statements coming out from Mahua Moitra is all about making allegations about the motives of other people. But there is no refutation that cash was received. There is no refutation that gifts were received. There is no refutation that 50 of the 61 questions were directly to benefit one corporate entity. There is no refutation that logins were given to businessmen who may have been even operating outside the country. And if her own party is not defending her, I think that's very telling indeed. And I think that sort of predicts the road ahead.
All right. I leave it at that. Baijan Pada, thanks a lot for speaking to us. This is indeed one of the most serious cases of ethics violations that have come to light in recent times for Indian Parliament, and remains to be seen what precedent will be set in this case as well. Let's also open this up to our other guests joining us. Joining me now is Shatarupa, BJP spokesperson from Bengal. Gargi Nandi Roy is a political analyst. Dr. Garga Chatterjee is a political analyst also joining us. We are awaiting one more guest as well. Dr. Garga Chatterjee, let me begin with you. Is there any defense, you think, for what has come to light as far as Mahua Moitra's case is concerned? And the same question to you as well. What does it tell you that the TMC, the party she belongs to, is not speaking at all on this matter?
Well, Trinamool Congress can speak for itself, but looking at the facts as they appear in media on this case, I would, as an observer, as a political observer, certain points come to mind. Number one, Mr. Hiranandani says that Ms. Mahua Moitra made frequent demands of favors. Let us imagine the situation. I make a demand of favor from you. Now, you can agree or disagree. You can give me the favor or not give me the favor, right? There are only two ways about it. I make another demand of favor from you. You can agree or disagree. I can make another demand of favor from you. You can agree or disagree. That's what frequent, asking of favor means. So, if at any point such a favor was granted for gift or whatever it is, then I think Mr. Hiranandani is in a way self-implicating himself. He has chosen the words very carefully. He has chosen the words which he has said, frequent demands of favor is being made. He has not said whether the gift was given
or not. But Jay Anand, who's the original complainant, once again, Jay Anand.
Let me tell you why is that important.
Yes.
Because if he is saying frequent demands, that puts a certain MP on the Mahua Moitra on the dog. If she says frequent demands and I acquiesce to those demands, then he puts him also in the dock.
No, surely there will be some sort of, possibly there will be some sort of action against him as well.
What is also interesting is this statement comes as a 180 degree jump from the statement 3-4 days ago.
Okay, but you're not answering the question I am asking you. The question I'm asking you is this.
I think that there is more to this case
than meets the eye.
Than this Hiranandani and
Mr. Garga Chatterjee, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
It's a Adani case.
Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. So please listen to what I'm saying as well. My point is that you are right. Whether the favors were given or not, Mr. Hiranandani's statement is not qualifying. But the original complainant, Jay Anand's complaint to the CBI is definitely saying that he has proof that she received certain items and also packets of cash. Now, I leave that aside. This equally important aspect, which we cannot neglect, is that Mr. Hiranandani is accepting in his statement that I did receive the login and password from Mahua Moitra and I did post questions directly for her to ask in Parliament. Now, as a parliamentarian, certainly that is of equal consequence, not just whether you received the bribe item or not. Kapil Madan is also joining us. Let me open this out to some of our other guests as well. Shatarupa, is it a simple matter of proving whether you got a certain item or not? That could take forever, I don't know. But fundamentally, today we are dealing with what behavior a parliamentarian has to display.
Shivani, good evening and greetings from Bengal, where this evening, Shoshti evening, right now, in fact, in my house, my brother is sitting for Bodhan, ready to welcome Ma Durga home. And it is so sad, Shivani, that I am being called on a national channel to try and explain the behavior of a woman MP from West Bengal. Now, having said this, I actually don't want to get into what Darshan Hiranandani said and why he said and Jai Anand Dehadrai said. I am really not interested, neither is my party. What we are most concerned about is not the why and wherefore and who got jilted and who has kidnapped whose dog. We're not interested in all that. We are only interested in the fact that an MP, an elected MP, has played havoc with her login ID to Parliament, which is the highest seat of democracy. So in a way, she has not only betrayed the central government, she has not only betrayed the Parliament, she has betrayed the very electorate which has elected her and sent her to Parliament. Once you are an MP, among those 548 people, you are held in high esteem. You are, whether you are in opposition or not, you are held equally responsible for the security, national security of the country. So when you are giving away your internet ID or login ID to Parliament, you are giving away possible national secrets away. So therefore, if you've been following throughout the day, the way the ethics committee has been handling it is also, I would say, they're showing great restraint, and they're also saying that let it play out. Let us hear both sides.
Yes.
Nobody saying, jump to the conclusion and grab her and drag her out of Parliament. These are just reactions which are happening on Twitter, which I don't think, as responsible politicians, we should react to. Our concern is very simple.
Okay.
It's a simple one-liner. The crux of the matter is an elected MP, a member of Parliament, has disrespected Parliament. She has given away
It's a breach of parliamentary ethics or breach of privilege case, and of course in that regard the ethics committee can recommend a suspension or a termination. Kapil Madan, I'm coming to you. Interestingly, in a lot of the statements that Mahua Moitra has made, she's tried to restrict the reportage on this case. She has tried to, suggest defamation on the complainants in this case. But interestingly, she has not denied even once that she did share her login and password, and that seems to be the albatross around her neck. All the other allegations, whether she received any bribe, whether she received money or items, comes secondary. Firstly is whether she asked questions on behalf of a business group, targeting a business group. Even if I leave that moral question aside, it's a very technical question of who posted the questions on her behalf and whether they were even in India, as Mr. Jay Panda was mentioning.
Yes, Shivani, I do agree with you. What was the question asked? What was the intent of the question is a separate issue. The fact remains is that if her login credentials, which is a person-specific, an authorized person given access, if those details, if those credentials were shared to a different entity, then yes, prima facie, it appears to be prima facie, there appears to be something wrong about it, and all these things can be verified. I mean, these allegations, the fact that Mahua Moitra has not contradicted this statement can also be seen from this slide, because you can't refute it. Because if you are here in Delhi, there would be an evidence, your mobile location, which would show that you are in Delhi. And the fact remains, if the login of her, from her credential has happened from a place outside Delhi, then it prima facie shows that yes, someone else who was not authorized to access the portal of the Parliament of India.
And in this case, her problems compound, because it's likely the digital evidence will show that it was not even a staff member from her office or her residence doing this. It could well be, as is being alleged in this case, a person living overseas.
Shivani, I think I will not, dwell. This is a matter of investigation from where the login happened and who was the person, who logged in on her behalf, or, after taking credentials from her. This is in the realm of investigation. I will not make any statement this way or that way. But the fact remains that if you are in Delhi and if someone else has accessed your account, and the fact remains that there is a controversy that access was given to ask question, and there was some some quid pro quo or some benefits that were given to Mahua. So these are all a question that will be investigated.
Okay.
But prima facie, it appears to be a case where there should be an investigation. This warrants an investigation.
Well, that's the least you can say, Kapil Madan. Thank you, but that's the absolute lowest common denominator statement that there should be an investigation. We all know there will be an investigation, but that's okay.
Yes.
Let me go across to Gargi as well. Gargi, Mahua Moitra has presented herself as the one who speaks truth to power. She's been, of course, very, very critical of the Narendra Modi-led government. She's been very critical of clearly the Adani companies. And all of that facade, if I may use that word today, is under question. The very motivations are under question when allegations of these types are made, and at least two people involved are actually coming out and accepting that yes, this was the case. There's nowhere to hide, unfortunately. And what do you make also of the fact that the joint opposition that is in a national alliance today is not saying a word. The TMC, forget the TMC, even the other parties are not saying a word.
Right. I think thank you for calling Shivani and Shubho Shoshti and Sharod Shubhecha to you and Shatrupati and all.
Ji.
And you know, there is a saying that chorer maer boro gola. You know what does that mean? That means that the thief's mother has the loudest voice. I think Miss Mahua Moitra symbolizes that. That's why she is showing that she has an attitude, she is holier than thou. No, she isn't. You know, the unfortunate thing is the constituency she represents, Krishnanagar, is suffering. People of Krishnanagar has not seen her, they have forgotten her face. So as the representative of the people, instead of asking their questions, she came to politics from a corporate background and corporate ambition to make name and fame, which is very clear from Darshan Hiranandani's letter. So that was her purpose. So she doesn't even deserve to be in the parliament as an elected representative of the people. That is, I think, that's a major point. She doesn't deserve to be there. And even Darshan Hiranandani now seemed to have, he was feeling pressurized because he was repeatedly being forced to give favors or gifts. So,
well, there is a question though, why Mr. Hiranandani is only coming out now and, making it sound like it was a completely one-sided pressure. I'm not sure if one can take that on its face value either. But leaving that aside, problems for Mahua Moitra don't begin and end with Mr. Hiranandani's statement.
But now that issue has come up, I think he wants to come clear, and he also fed up with giving her favors and expensive gifts. So that may be one of the greatest reasons. And see, that
Gargi, I'm losing your video.
No, 1 second now, because I was getting, I think, the TMC members, the party members, leadership, they have also distanced themselves from Mahua Moitra, and that is the reason they are also realizing, and I'll tell you, Shivani, I really doubt whether next year Mamata Banerjee will give her the ticket, because the people of the constituency is fed up and
I think that ship has sailed. Her. But Garga Chatterjee, I do want to ask you, don't you think it's incumbent on the TMC too to come out and say something? I mean, you cannot just stay quiet when one of your very prominent MPs, parliamentarians, is facing these charges, and you make grave charges of both corruption and impropriety. I don't think that the party can keep quiet. There should be at least some statement from their behalf.
Level of ethics is now very low. This is a what you call a complaint against a MP from Trinamool. Rahul Gandhi made database complaints on relationship between Narendra Modi and Adani. There was no answer in the parliament.
No, that wasn't a complaint. That wasn't a complaint. No, you are confusing two issues. Once again, Garga Chatterjee, I'll give you your time, but let's not confuse issues. Let's stick to the facts. Rahul Gandhi made statements in parliament about the relationship. He never filed a complaint as far as the relationship is concerned.
Political party is very low level of ethics in parliament. The seat of parliament, which Joy Panda was so eloquently saying that this is the highest this and highest that, their points were made and the Prime Minister does not answer. This is the level.
Why aren't you answering my question? Yes, okay, your contention is the BJP is bad. But what about the TMC's responsibility?
If you do not like the answer for whatever reason, if you do
answer my question, I'm asking you about TMC staying quiet.
So let me answer.
Yes, go ahead.
I also understand what kind of answers and what kind of words are red words.
No, don't go to something else. Stick to the question I'm asking.
I will go to something else. I understand what I am talking about you do not like. I will go to something else.
No, it's not about me liking or not. It's a fundamental question to ask on a day like today. If this was any other parliamentarian... Garga, I'll come to you. You're getting needlessly agitated. Just calm down for 1 second. If there was any other parliamentarian from any other party, their party would have been... Their party would be incumbent to at least make a statement. Either to the extent that we defend that parliamentarian or that we just want the law to take its own course. Squeaky silence is never done in parliament.
I understand. I will go to something else. We all eat Adani's oil and soybean. So
Garga, I'm sorry. That is not justified. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is not justified. No, that is not
You don't
justified.
think-
I'm sorry if you're unable to make your arguments. Don't make personal jibes either against me or anybody else on the panel.
What is Adani? Is Adani some kind of a Nishidha word? It's a banned word.
No, I'm sorry, but don't make personal attacks on anybody. You want to make your argument, you make your argument.
Okay, you are
If you're going to come down to this level, then you have no argument.
You do not eat Adani oil and soybean, other people do. Okay, it is not personal. Okay.
No, I'm not
Let me
asking
tell
you about that. Whether it is personal against Adani or not, that Mahua Moitra's fortunes will tell. I'm asking you the question about TMC. I'm asking you the question about TMC.
You tell me. Mr. Lawyer, I forget the surname. Maybe it will come right now. Mr. Modon. So he said something very interesting. So first is whether the login credential issue. It's a very, very important and pertinent point. And this might be a good time to, because see, for example, I work at an institution where if I am to use certain things, I have a registered whatever of device, which is my official login, whatever. Okay. So anything else will put a different IP stamp.
Yes.
So that's the issue. Whether you are using a authorized device or not. This might be a very good time to look at, and I know this data will not come out, to look at all the logins of all the MPs of all the parties.
Okay.
But
I
no
think
guts.
Kapil Madan is a lawyer and he will contest to the fact that that's not how investigations happen, that just because one person's case has come in, you subject everybody else to an investigation. Very nicely you've diverted for 5 minutes now from the fundamental question I'm asking you about TMC. I'm sorry I don't have more time to give to you because your aim is to not answer that question and deflect. Shatarupa, Kapil, I'll come to you. Shatarupa, your response on the accountability of the party in question here today as well.
Shivani, the other speaker, she very rightly said, Gargi, sorry, I forgot her name. Gargi very beautifully said that Chorer Mayer Boro Gola. I want to add to that. Dhormer call Batashe Nore is something that we believe in Bengal, which means what you do comes around. She has been abusing Ma Kali. I mean, I'm saying this specifically because we are into Devi Pokho and we are about to welcome Madhuga home. This lady completely defiantly has been saying a lot of things over the last so many years that she's been a first-time parliamentarian, and every time, if you notice, Shivani, her party has been remaining very silent. Now, either I would be given to understand that the party's intellect is so low that they don't understand her high-flown, so-called high-flown English, most of them they probably don't even understand, or they don't want to come out in support of her.
Well, there has been news of friction or at least not very great relationships between Mahua Moitra and her party. In this case, one can say that nobody from her party has come out to defend her.
That's my point. Shivani, very many times this has happened. So I am really not surprised that once again Mahua Moitra has this time not put her foot into her mouth. She obviously has put in a lot of other assets in her mouth, too much for her to digest. So therefore, Trinamool wants to maintain a so-called dignified distance, which they don't have.
Well, I'm not sure. That's the question that I'm asking. Can you maintain, quote unquote, as you said, that's a great term you use, dignified distance when your MP is facing both ethical and moral and corruption charges? Already in West Bengal, many investigations have had ex-ministers and senior leaders of the TMC being roped in those investigations. Partha Chatterjee is the name that comes to light, of course. And yes, Mamata Banerjee was forced to take action against him just because of the sheer visuals that came out in that case. But how can you maintain a dignified distance when another of your parliamentarian is living, quote unquote, a high life from charges that have been made against what your party actually stands for and is asking questions at the behest of a business group, as is the charges here, and is accused of corruption and ethical impropriety? But Kapil, I have 30 seconds left. 30 seconds to you. You wanted to come in very quickly.
So, yes. So, I just want to respond to Mr. Chatterjee when he said that, every MP's login credential should be investigated. So, it's like making an argument that if someone has done a wrong, if he's being investigated, you say, no, you please investigate the entire citizenry. Yeah. This sounds little, irrational to me. A person investigation will happen where there are prima facie documents, there are prima facie substance to support the allegation.
Right.
And in this case, it meets that criteria that yes, prima facie case appears to be there, and therefore there should be an investigation.
Fair enough. I think if he had still said that there should be a re-look at the processes that parliamentarians use so that something like this does not happen, I would have bought that argument. But as Kapil has also said, you don't do investigations on this behalf कि मेरे against case आया तो भैया सबके against investigation करो और पूरा system clear करो. ऐसे investigation नहीं होता है. Gargi, 30 seconds to you as well. Final comments.
Yes, Shivani, you know, the party TMC has sold so many things. I mean, they are known for corruption, selling jobs, selling polls and whatnot. So they can sell questions too. So nobody is surprised by that. And the constituency, she comes from Krishnanagar, that the Noida district. Her MLA, that district former MLA, Manik Bhattacharya. Today also his bail has been refused, rejected. He is the former president of our education board. So you know the entire education department is in jail. So this is nothing surprising. They can sell everything, anything, and she is just member of that party. So, and I want to make one point about Golga Chatterjee. Golga Chatterjee is known for regional chauvinism and dividing Hindus. I don't know whether you know that. I don't know. He is known for the regional chauvinism, outsiders and Bengali. Okay, so I don't think he can even speak on Mahua Moitra's issue.
Okay, let's leave that aside. Let's not make any personal,
because
charges against each other.
Chauvinist.
Fair enough, Gargi, that is for another day. You can take that forward separately with him. At least on this show, he hasn't said anything of that sort. But I do thank all of you for joining us on our top story today. It remains to be seen exactly what fate awaits Mahua Moitra.